Welcome back to my channel. Today we will learn about the issue currently unfolding on CBS's The Bold and the Beautiful. This latest turn of events has overturned everything we thought we knew about Finn, Steffi, Luna, and the intricate secrets woven through their family histories. In a world where revelations can devastate even the strongest alliances, a single piece of evidence has the power to topple carefully constructed narratives. Prepare for a deep dive into a story where paternity confusion, criminal influence, and shattered trust collide to reshape the destinies of our beloved characters. For months, Finn carried with him a life-altering burden he was terrified to share with anyone, especially with Steffi, the woman he loves and the mother of their child, Hayes. As the weeks went by, the weight of this secret grew intolerable. No longer able to shoulder the emotional toll alone, Finn finally confessed to Steffi that he believed himself to be the biological father of Luna. The admission shook Steffi to her core. Luna, known for her troubled past, had been labeled a violent criminal, one whose mental instability placed those around her in constant danger. For Steffi, it seemed unthinkable that Finn, the calm presence she cherished and the devoted father to her own son, could be the man behind Luna's paternity. Yet, in the face of her shock, Steffi also recognized that Finn was no ordinary father figure to Luna. He had been only 18 years old at the time, still practically a child himself, and he had fallen under the influence of Poppy. In all the confusion, it appeared that Poppy had taken advantage of Finn's youth and inexperience, leading to the conception of Luna. Steffi's anger and bewilderment were tempered by a measure of empathy. She understood that Finn, barely more than a teenager, had been seduced into a situation that spiraled beyond his control. Moreover, she grasped just how deeply the entire circumstance distressed Finn, especially given the specter of Sheila's violent genes potentially cascading down to the next generation. Sheila, a name that has haunted Finn's family for years, was a notorious murderer, a woman whose legacy continues to stir fear in the hearts of the Forresters and their affiliates. Finn harbored the quiet dread that perhaps, on some genetic level, Sheila's proclivities for violence and unhinged behavior might live within him, pass through his DNA in ways he could not understand or predict. The fact that Luna was believed to have grown into a dangerously unstable individual seemed to underscore his darkest fears, that perhaps he had unwittingly bequeathed a cursed lineage to his child. Now, with the shocking confession, Steffi in turn wondered about Hayes. Would their own child share the same genetic vulnerabilities? Could they, too, lose him to madness or violence one day, all because of the paternal blood coursing through his veins? As Finn wrestled with the regret of his past and Steffi battled her anxieties for the future, an additional piece of news soon hit them like a sledgehammer. Liz, a family friend, informed Finn that April, the very lab technician responsible for analyzing Luna's DNA samples, had been arrested by the police. April's crime, forging multiple DNA results in previous cases. This revelation was like a thunderclap in Finn's mind. He recalled with vivid clarity how April had sent him the DNA results, supposedly confirming that he was Luna's biological father. If April had been arrested for falsifying paternity tests and other reports, could it be that Luna's DNA results had also been forged? The shock and confusion weighed heavily on Finn. His entire perception of himself, and of the relationship swirling around him, suddenly felt precarious. Not wanting to base his life on a lie, he decided to run his own DNA test from scratch, personally ensuring that the new samples were accurate and untouched. The tension was palpable as he awaited the new results, suspecting that everything he'd believed could be turned upside down in an instant. At the same time, Steffi stood by him, torn between fear, hope, and an avalanche of unanswered questions. When the test results came back, the revelation was beyond anything Finn could have anticipated. Luna was not his daughter after all. The second, rigorously verified test indicated that the initial DNA results had been tampered with, confirming his worst suspicions. The ground seemed to slip from beneath Finn's feet. He had spent so long grappling with guilt, shame, and heartbreak, lamenting the possibility that he might have inherited Sheila's propensity for dangerous behavior, and that he had unwittingly passed that dark legacy to his child. Now, in a moment, he discovered that he was never Luna's father to begin with. Relief, anger, shock, all these emotions collided within him, vying for dominance in a heart already strained to its limits. Without hesitation, Finn decided there was only one person who could clarify why the test had been doctored: April. Though she was behind bars, he wasted no time in arranging a visit, determined to discover the truth behind this monstrous lie. April's presence in the prison was a stark contrast to the neat, professional persona she had once projected in her lab coat. Meeting him through the glass partition, she appeared resigned, as though she had realized her grand manipulations had finally come crashing down. If Finn had expected her to offer plausible excuse or reveal extenuating circumstances, he was sorely mistaken. The conversation was swift, direct, and devastating in its implications. April confessed that Jack, Finn's own father and someone he had admired and respected for so long, was behind the entire scheme. According to her, Jack had hired her to swap samples and forge the DNA results, ensuring that Finn would believe he was Luna's father, even though, in reality, the paternity pointed elsewhere. The logic was simple: Jack, so claimed April, was the true father of Luna. That possibility was so horrifying and monstrous that April could hardly contain her revulsion at being complicit. Yet, complicit she was. She admitted to taking payment from Jack in exchange for forging the initial paternity tests and effectively framing Finn with a false fatherhood. Her contrition was overshadowed by the severity of the lie, a deception that had twisted Finn's life and inflicted intense emotional pain not only on him but also on Steffi and those close to them. When Finn heard April's confession, an inferno of emotions ignited within him. Anger, betrayal, heartbreak, and a profound sense of disillusionment warred in his chest. Jack had lied to him time and again, orchestrating circumstances that would lead Finn to believe an entirely false narrative. For what purpose? Why had Jack decided to let Finn suffer with the knowledge that he was responsible for bringing a deeply troubled individual into the world, particularly when Finn already struggled with the weight of Sheila's genetic legacy? The betrayal was even sharper because Finn, for so many years, had upheld an image of his father as a man of principle, someone who had guided him through life's most challenging obstacles. Now, that image lay in ruins. The discovery that Jack might actually be Luna's father changed every dimension of the situation. One can hardly imagine the repercussions for the entire Forrester family. Not only did this revelation unravel the emotional turmoil Finn and Steffi had been battling, but it also cast a dubious light upon Jack's motives and his moral character. By willfully distorting the paternity results, Jack had inflicted significant harm on Finn, a son who had always looked up to him. What if the plan had succeeded indefinitely? Finn might have lived out his entire life laboring under a false sense of guilt and responsibility for a child that was not his own. How would Steffi have coped if she had gone on believing that their own son, Hayes, carried a predisposition to madness inherited from a father with a biological tie to a violent killer like Sheila? Standing in that visiting room with April, Finn's emotions nearly consumed him. He had always tried to be a good man, someone who strived to live authentically and ethically, a man who had learned from the complicated swirl of influences shaping his life. The knowledge that Jack, of all people, had tampered with something as sacred as paternal identity left him deeply shaken. Moreover, it stoked the fires of resentment and wrath, as if a fundamental trust had been violated in the most personal, intimate way possible. The father he once trusted unequivocally now stood in Finn's mind as a puppet master, manipulating events for reasons not yet entirely clear. On her part, Steffi also faced a tsunami of conflicting emotions. Having spent many sleepless nights dreading that her beloved Hayes might share the same dark destiny as Luna, she suddenly found that the entire basis for those fears was flawed. Much as she felt relief for Hayes, the sense of betrayal from Jack's machinations cut deep. After all, Steffi had tried to make sense of a future overshadowed by a perceived genetic curse. Now, all those anxieties she had wrestled with turned out to be a direct result of Jack's deception. Indeed, Steffi might wonder if there were other secrets Jack had concealed or other manipulations at play behind the scenes, especially given how easily he had orchestrated this false paternity claim. Returning home from the prison, Finn was left with a decision that would shape the next chapter of his life: whether to confront Jack about the deception. The question of how or when to do so loomed over him. On one hand, the sense of betrayal was so profound that part of him wanted to rush to Jack and demand answers. On the other, the emotional toll of the entire fiasco left him exhausted, uncertain if he had the strength to face yet another conflict. He needed time to collect himself, to clarify his thoughts, and to figure out the most constructive way forward. Perhaps he felt an urge to see if Jack would come clean on his own, given the police involvement and April's imprisonment. Or maybe he planned to gather more information, wanting to ensure that he had every piece of evidence in place before charging forward with an accusation that would shake the family to its core. The immediate aftermath of April's confession triggered waves of speculation. Could it be that Jack had fathered Luna with some other woman, possibly under deeply complex or scandalous circumstances, and orchestrated the entire swap to maintain the illusion of a normal family? If that were the case, it opened the door to a labyrinth of additional questions. Did Luna's mother know that Jack was her father? Did Poppy, the woman who claimed to have seduced Finn, also have knowledge of the real paternity? Was Poppy involved in the scheme or simply a pawn in a broader game? The potential entanglements soared, weaving a tapestry of secrets that threatened to overshadow the revelations that had come before. Meanwhile, the Forrester family, already dealing with typical corporate strife and personal melodramas, might find themselves forced to rally around Finn and Steffi. Finn's mother, Lee, who had always harbored a vested interest in her son's well-being, would likely confront her own sense of betrayal upon learning that her husband Jack had hidden such a monumental piece of information from her. The rift in the family could deepen, with each new piece of evidence driving them further apart. Even the ever-watchful eyes of the extended Forrester clan would be drawn to the fiasco, as they realized that the illusions shaping their friend and colleague's life had been orchestrated by someone they once considered an ally. Amid the swirling speculation and the raw emotional turmoil, one fact remained crystal clear: the DNA fiasco had left scars that would not easily heal. For Finn, discovering that he was not Luna's father erased a burden that once weighed heavily on his conscience, but it also shattered his faith in his father's integrity. For Steffi, the fear for Hayes's future might recede, yet the anger over Jack's manipulation lingered. As for Jack himself, no matter how carefully he might try to justify his reasons, perhaps wanting to protect Finn from some ominous truth, or possibly attempting to shield his own secrets from exposure, he would find it increasingly difficult to persuade those he betrayed that he acted out of love or necessity. From the vantage point of viewers, the drama underscores how quickly fortunes can change in The Bold and the Beautiful. What started as a confession by Finn, driven by guilt and a sense of duty, has evolved into a bombshell that redefines parentage, trust, and moral obligation. It also highlights a recurring theme that runs through the series: the persistent question of nature versus nurture, of genetics versus free will. Sheila's monstrous legacy has long cast a shadow over Finn's life, but in the end, the more devastating blows sometimes come from those we trust the most, like Jack. As the series moves forward, viewers will undoubtedly watch to see how Finn reconciles with this stunning betrayal. Does he storm into Jack's life, demanding answers and retribution for the emotional agony inflicted upon him? Or does he bide his time, strategizing the best way to confront the father he once revered in hopes of uncovering deeper motives that might shed new light on the situation? The direction of Finn's next moves will have far-reaching consequences, not just for him, but also for Steffi, Hayes, Lee, and the extended network of families that define the bold and the beautiful. Simultaneously, questions linger about Luna's fate. If Finn is not her father after all, that leaves the question of her paternity open, albeit with April's statement that it is Jack. But do the revelations about manipulated DNA fully explain her mental instability and her violent tendencies, or is there a deeper reason for her personality, completely disconnected from the matter of genetics? If it turns out that Luna's relationship to the Forrester clan was orchestrated from the start, what are the ramifications for her place in the social and familial structure that has long been shaped by loyalties, legacy, and occasionally misguided illusions of parenthood? The storyline thus stands at a tipping point. Characters who believed they understood their family ties now face the unsettling prospect that even these closest bonds can be illusions. At the center of it all is Finn, a man who has lived his entire life striving to do the right thing, only to discover that the father he respected might be the same man who manipulated him into assuming a heartbreakingly false burden. Betrayal, heartbreak, redemption, and retribution all swirl in the background, promising a dramatic confrontation with an uncertain outcome. Should Finn opt to confront Jack face to face, viewers can expect an emotional firestorm. Jack may have reasons for engineering such a deception, perhaps a misguided act of protection or an attempt to bury a personal scandal that threatened to erupt. However, those reasons, no matter how heartfelt, will likely seem hollow in the light of the anguish Finn has already endured. The series has always excelled in portraying emotional showdowns, and the meeting of father and son over such a tangled web of deception is certain to become one of the most memorable confrontations in recent memory. In summation, the revelations that Finn is not Luna's father, that the DNA results were falsified by April, and that Jack might be the true father reflect a multi-layered tapestry of betrayal and heartbreak that the bold and the beautiful so often excels at weaving. Finn's confession to Steffi, initially an attempt to unburden his conscience, mutated into a series of bombshells that challenge everything from lineage to loyalty. Steffi's genuine relief that Hayes may not inherit the specter of criminal madness is tempered by her outrage over Jack's deception. For Finn, the ramifications are deeply personal, a fundamental lie at the heart of his relationship with the man he called father. The tension is set, and the next steps each character takes will shape the future of the Forrester family and the broader community in which they live. Thank you for staying with me through this extensive overview of the latest developments on The Bold and the Beautiful. It seems that the journey is far from over, and as new truths emerge, old illusions crumble. Will Finn ultimately confront Jack in a dramatic showdown that tears the family apart? Will April's incarceration bring further revelations that might shift the blame yet again? And above all, what will become of Luna, caught in the middle of a twisted paternity puzzle that has redefined the boundaries of trust and identity? The next episodes promise to bring answers, heartbreak, and the classic brand of high-stakes emotional intensity that fans have come to love in this legendary daytime drama. Stay tuned as this riveting saga continues to unfold, reminding us all that in the world of the bold and the beautiful, no secret remains hidden forever, and every lie has a price.